I'm conscious that I've got probably the shittest shift here today, and I'll do my best to keep this as punchy as I can. Feel free to ask any questions purely to break up having to listen to me drone on and having to listen to people walking in and out. So who am I? Oh, hang on a minute. I'm Graeme Matheson, the Planning and Performance Lead for John Lewis and Waitrose. Effectively, it means I have two hats. I own and I'm accountable for the John Lewis and Waitrose outsource estate, and I also do a chunk of work for our in-house estate as well. So here's my map that I pull out in every presentation. There will be questions later on my map. It gives you an indication of what I've got just now and where I've got it and roughly how many heads. Try not to memorise the heads because these are probably a few weeks out of date and they shift fairly regularly. What's the problem I've got? That's the problem I've got. That's the advisor desktop that my advisor population faces into when they're speaking to customers. It takes roughly 13 weeks from the day an advisor goes live on the phone before they're used to operating that desktop. What that means is if you as a customer phone us or email us or web chat with us or use carrier pigeons or send us envelopes stuffed with money, which we still take from customers in return for goods, sending the change is the hardest bit of that. It takes about 13 weeks for an advisor to become comfortable with that. Which means if you're that customer that phones us, the advisor is freaking out about that desktop more than they are dealing with your question. What that then turns into is an advisor who's dissatisfied and an advisor who churns. So across our in-house estate, circa 40% at annualised attrition. Across the outsourced estate, closer on to 60%. The reason I'm telling you this is because what I'm keen that you understand is what's the problem I've got so that I can then get to why do I hate technology companies that sell me snake oil. So the problem I've got a challenging labour market here in the UK. The analogy that I've shared with some of you recently and Kerry referred to earlier on, a girl who works in my team, her niece was looking for a job having just left school. Lindsay who works with me said, come and get a job working for John Lewis in the contact centres. It'll be great, you'll love it. She forgot to tell that poor girl about the advisor desktop. That person went away and has now got a job working for Burger King, earning more money, doing the shifts that she wants because it's easier than working in the phones. That's the same challenge that we've got everywhere. We have increasing costs. National living wage is going up. The National Living Wage Foundation is bringing forward next year's salary recommendation to September of this year, which will increase our costs again. Utilities costs, transport costs, all going through the roof. I have got limited capability and limited opportunities for short-term investment. Why is that? It's because my costs are going through the roof and because you lot aren't spending enough money in John Lewis and Waitrose. It's your fault, basically, so thank you very much indeed. The reason I'm standing here is because you. The other challenge I've got is that televisions, underwear, cost roughly the same no matter where you buy it. What is becoming increasingly important to customers is the service that they get around about that purchasing decision. Customers come to us for those lifestyle purchases. They come to us for the big occasion purchases. We've got to be able to develop and deliver a customised service to those customers at every one of those opportunities. But that's really difficult given the advisor desktop that we've got. The other part that we're trying to do is to create real opportunities for our partners. So for those of you who aren't aware, John Lewis Partnership is a co-owned business. We're the world's largest workers' cooperative, 82,000 partners in the business. We need to create opportunities for partners to deliver service to customers where it's truly differentiated. Take our low complex, highly repetitious work and do it somewhere else, and leave customers to deal with partners for the really key activities. So that's my problem statement. So what do I expect to get off the back of that? I expect to get my LinkedIn lighting up with a supplier feeding frenzy. With people promising that they can give me people, they can give me process, they can give me technology transformation, probably at very limited cost and very limited risk, and it will fix my problems for me. I will expect to get a bunch of solutions, but none of them will fix the actual problem. We've all sat in RFI and RFP meetings where somebody will tell you, I will give you a technology solution. I will take your technology stack and I will fix it. You can't. You can if I'm willing to hand it all over. But I'm basically a large corporate. I'm never going to hand over my technology stack to somebody else and say, you fix it for me. I will ask you for consultancy and I will engage you in consultancy, but bear in mind, I've got a 2-year lag time for any technology change, and I've got no budget to change it because I'm a poor shopkeeper. And I'll also see mission creep. I'll see suppliers sitting in monthly and quarterly review sessions trying to explain their performance, but talking to me about how their performance could be better if they sell me another solution. What is it I actually want? I want people to be real with me. And the whole purpose of this, the whole purpose of me standing here probably feeling like I'm just beating up the outsource industry, which is critically not what I'm doing, and perhaps what I should have said at the start of this in my introduction is, over the 30 years I've been involved in this industry, and the reason I care so passionately about this industry is I've been doing it for 30 years. I've been the buyer, I've been the service provider, and I recognise that there's great practice from both sides of that relationship. But the fundamental key is it has to be a relationship. It can't be an ongoing sales pitch. It's about strategic partnerships and alliances, and we've spoken about that so much today already. It's about aligning our strategic goals. One of my strategic suppliers is Sitel. We've been in bed with Sitel for about 12 and a half years now. The reason that relationship works so well is when I look at the 4 pillars that we operate our business on, and I reflect on that and compare it with Sitel's core 4 pillars, they're the same things. Everyone wants happier people, happier customers. They want to make a great impression in the communities that we work, and we all want to make a few quid out of it. That's all we really want to do, and it's pretty bloody simple when it comes down to it. But you can only get to that if you've got a relationship and you've got experts lifting their area of expertise, and you don't have experts trying to creep out beyond what they're trying to do and what the focus of the contract is. In my view, and I'm going to get to this pretty quickly, it's about relationships delivering success. If you have a strategic relationship and a strategic alliance, you'll be happy because you won't have me sitting trying to pick holes in whatever proposals come across my desk. If you're real and if you deliver reality, that will build more credibility as a supplier and will build more long-term growth as a supplier than rocking up every couple of months with a proposal. When I first joined the partnership, I was responsible for managing a fairly large outsource contract within a supplier who will remain unnamed, who were contractually obliged to deliver me an insight proposal once a quarter that would improve customer experience and drive down cost. So guarantee you, every quarter they would turn up with an insight proposal. One of them said, if you give your customer a named delivery person, and that named delivery person is the same person that does their deliveries, every time they buy something from John Lewis or Waitrose, you'll improve customer satisfaction. Great, so Graeme is going to be your named guy. What happens when you order something and it gets delivered the day I'm not around? It's ludicrous, but because they were compelled to do it, they would just churn out these proposals. I would much rather have a real conversation that says, you know what, we can't make things better. We can only make things better if you hand over control, and if as a buyer you're not willing to hand over control, we can't make things better. The final quote there is, scars signal skin in the game. Both parties have to have some financial reward. If there's not financial reward, and it's all about the buyers screwing down the risk and reward part of the contract, in fact, if it's about the buyers pulling the contract out every month, there's something fundamentally broken. And the critical thing and the critical message that I'm trying to send, and it's a plea on behalf of buyers everywhere, I guess, is be honest, be straight to the contract, don't bring the contract with you, and don't bring a sales guy into the quarterly review. If we want to speak to a sales guy or a business development guy, we'll speak to a sales guy and a business development guy. But if you rock up at every quarterly review, having not seen them for the last 11 and a half weeks, there's no credibility of relationship there. You've got to build key relationships. You've got to have honest and good quality dialogue. understand what the challenge is that the buyer's got, and try and support them in delivering that. But don't just rock up and carpet bomb solutions and then criticise when the buyer goes, yeah, that's all great, but I've got no money. Because that's the reality of the world that we operate in. So my plea is, please, can we get to a place where we just keep it simple? Deliver what's being bought, build relationships, and through those relationships, create organic growth. That's me. Happy to answer any questions.
I'm going to say that as a pretty provocative presentation, so I'm sure there will be questions. I've got a roving mic. Is there a question for Graeme or a observation? Or are you absolutely terrified he's going to shoot you down?
I've got a friendly Scotsman.
Okay, Edward.
This is just, perhaps I'm not going to make many friends with this either, because I'm on Graeme's side on this one. I haven't been on the receiving end on several occasions where before the ink is dried on the contract that was signed, the first conversations I'm having is about, right, so what else can we do for you? And I turn around and I say, if you start with doing what you've already committed to first, then we can see what else you can do for me.
Yeah.
And it always amazes me the number of suppliers who go straight away into selling mode when we haven't even seen any evidence that they can deliver what they've already signed up for.
Yeah.
So I'm joining Graeme in that plea. Please try and deliver what you've signed up for first. And then if you're doing good at that, without a doubt, why would I go somewhere else if you have the capability to deliver more?
I'm glad somebody agrees with me.
Okay, William.
Thanks, Kerry. Absolutely see all of that, Graeme, but I just wondered, is there any examples you can give where you have seen whether profit or you've come across yourself a use of technology that has really benefited?
Yes, absolutely. So we now have a speech analytics offering that we're using to deliver operational and strategic insight, and we wouldn't have had that had a supplier not come to us and said, look, we've got a speech analytics offering, we will give you a free pilot for it. So there was a free pilot, it let us dip our toe in the water, so they took the risk, they took the financial hit up front to allow them to demonstrate the power of that tool. We're now paying for that tool. So it's about, historically a supplier would have turned up and said, we've got this, do you want it? Now, they're making more money now because we're paying that monthly cost of that. And it's now intrinsically part of what we do. It's probably our sole real view of what customers are saying. So we're absolutely reliant on it. And we wouldn't have done that without a supplier coming to us, but that was because they recognised us being hungry for insight. That same supplier has come to us and tried to sell us knowledge tools and sell a new website hosting system. No. So it's about the right thing at the right time. And they only understood that because the relationship was there and they understand our business needs.
Okay, I've got one really quick question myself from you, Graeme, and that's all about the cost of living adjustment. How are you handling that at John Lewis and in your outsourced customer service estate?
So, two answers to that. Within the outsourced estates, we recognise skin in the game. We recognise that we could quite easily just turn around to our suppliers and say, suck it up. That's not the right thing to do, because the people who will suffer there are the advisors who are on the phones dealing with our customers. So what we've done is we've renegotiated our rate. We've renegotiated and uplifted our rate to take into account the cost of living increases. And the reality is, if the national living wage changes again in September, we'll probably have to do it again in September, which will again increase our costs. But that's the right thing to do. Across the partnership, what we're doing is we're reflecting on what is the right thing to do in terms of our partners. I'm glad to say that we have very, very few partners across the business who earn genuine minimum wage. We're committed to the national living wage. It's the right thing to do for partners in our business, and we're doing everything we can to financially support our partners. One of the things that we were looking at doing this year, so we have a slightly strange remuneration system in the part, because we're all partners and all co-owners, we all earn a share of the profits of the business. So none of our profits go out to external shareholders. We earn a profit share. In addition to that, we have a small pot of money that's used to reward performance, so pay per performance. But realistically, it's a small amount of money. And actually, in the last 24 months, that's been knocked on its head entirely. And we've had flat pay rises across the business. So we recognise that's great for someone like me. That's okay, I can live with that. However, we have a huge population of partners in our business who earn very little money. So rather than changing that structure of remuneration, we decided to increase the amount of money that goes into what we call a Hardship Fund. And that's a Hardship Fund that partners can apply for with very little, very minimal governance around about it. It's not about, I've got a birthday coming up and I can't afford to buy a present for my kids. It's about, I'm in genuine hardship, how can you help me? So with very little governance, we will hand out money. And it's not a loan. We don't expect it to be repaid. It's about us doing what we can to help partners that are genuinely struggling. So there's a bunch of things we could do that would deliver a one-off hit in terms of increasing costs or increasing payments to partners, but it's trying to focus it in the right way so that we can deal with the partners who are struggling most. In addition to schemes in Waitrose stores for food that's coming on or close to sell-by date will be sold out to partners at minimal cost. I was speaking to a partner in the Stirling store the other day who bought a Chateaubriand that should have been on sale for 45 quid, and she got it for £1. I was slightly jealous, and I might spend a bit more time in the John Lewis Stirling store seeing if I can get some of that. So it's about helping them in the right way. So it's not just about bumping salaries up. Of course, we will follow our obligations. It's about providing other financial support to partners wherever we can, and trying to do the same with our suppliers.
That's excellent. Thank you very much for that, Graeme. Thank you very much
You're
for the
welcome.
presentation. Thank you.
You're welcome.